Well, that sky was still bothering me a little bit. It's fairly pinky. That's okay though. I think that the pink in the sky helps to keep the orange bush on the right stay away from being too garish. Okay, now on to another canvas. Okay, I found a couple of canvases. I was walking down the aisle and I heard this muffled crying while I was at the art store. You know, just kind of simpering, weeping softly, I guess you might say. And I looked behind a shelf, and there were two 16 by 20 inch canvases. They were embracing each other and crying softly, so I thought I would free them. So I brought them home. I've already given them some food and some water, and we'll just decide where to go from there. Well, I have an idea of what I'd like to put on this canvas. So I'll probably start with a little darker tint towards the bottom. Might end up getting a little lighter as we go to the top. We'll see what I run out of first on my palette. This is yellow ochre and burnt sienna and a bit of ultramarine blue right now. Sort of a warmish green. I know I've said in the past that I like to keep my stain pretty uniform because I don't want it to affect my drawing or my composition. And it can do that. But in this case, I'm pretty confident in what I wanted. And here I have something in my mind's eye already, so I'm not too worried if the stain is not terribly even. Going slightly around the edge again, as usual. Okay, mix a little more up. A little more yellow ochre, a little more burnt sienna. I may as well add a little more ultramarine blue in there too. Why not? And as you can see, I'm using a scruffy brush. I don't want to take a nice new brush or even a brush that's working very well right now for me and then break a bunch of bristles by staining in another painting. That would be kind of silly. Yeah, time for some more. So you can see I'm mixing up a little pile and then loading my brush, and then I'm not giving the brush a lot of love, you know, but that's because it is mostly worn out. You know, I'm scrubbing it, but I'm pushing this way as well, like I'm pushing actually against the bristles. If I was going to show my brush some love, I would be doing it this way, going backwards. But going this way actually forces the paint into the little divots. It just does a more thorough job. And because I'm not concerned about the brush being ruined, it's ruined already for any other purpose than washing in, then I wouldn't do it. But yeah, it fits right now, it's just fine. Yeah. I think I have enough left on here to go around the outside edge. Well, actually, I have enough to actually just finish this little strip remaining. I don't have any wooden panels here right now, or very small canvases. Otherwise, if I mix too much on my palette and overestimate what I need, well, especially with a wooden panel, I'll just stain a wooden panel if it's hanging around, because it takes very little stain to cover a small, you know, an 8x10 or a 5x7 panel. It takes nothing. Try to avoid throwing any paint away. But the way this particular canvas has worked out, we're going to run out exactly when we want to. I don't think I've missed anything there. Now somebody had wanted to see a snow scene. I don't remember who it was. It was a few videos back. Before the last painting, I guess. I didn't want to make that last painting into a snow scene because it's going to be in a show that's going to take place during the winter. And often people kind of like to see more warmth than more color when they're during the winter time, because it gets pretty dismal and drizzly around here. Not that we get snow all that often, but most winters we get a little bit anyway. And I've talked to people about that at shows, various shows, and seeing as that other one is going to be in a winter show. Actually, this one probably will be too, but it's smaller, so it's not as big a commitment. I thought, you know, what the heck? Let's do a snow scene. I like doing snow scenes. So, oh, that's probably Sorel, because you are, I think you're in a heat wave. You are enduring a heat wave right now. That's what it is. Or what it was. I don't know if it's still there. And yeah, during your hot days, then it's nicer to see a winter scene. Anyway, that's what I'm going to do. Just a small, simple composition. Maybe a young pine tree or two in the foreground, acting as sort of a frame for just looking through the woods. I think I'll have a lot of mauve, a lot of purple in this one. So that, yeah, it's a cool painting, but if I have enough yellow ochre in there too, we can have some nice warm shots in there. Ah, warm and cool together. That works well. Anyway, I'm gonna have to let this sit for a bit before I put charcoal on there. Well, I don't know how clearly you'll see this until I have some paint on here, but I'm going to have my little spruce tree on the left-hand side, and it's going to be important enough that I need to make it somewhat interesting. I don't know that I want to have all these boughs sprouting up like this. You know, recently if we had a snowstorm, and let's say the snow came from the left and it was fairly heavy, this tree will look a little more weighed down because I may end up putting some snow on the boughs of this tree. Let's see. You know what? What if this tree has a damaged branch in there? Something along those lines. You know, it's almost like it's wearing a gown. Something like that. I'm going to put a piece of trunk in there. I'm going to put a piece of trunk in there right away. And let's have one tree trunk. I think a reasonably substantial one here. I'm not worrying about branches right now. I'm just going to get those trunks in place. You know, branches carry foliage. Foliage, I don't know if I'm going to have any on these. Maybe just a hint, maybe not. Okay, we don't want anything in the center. I don't mind the land flattening out in behind here though. Okay, let's go put a branch in there. Okay, who am I kidding? Let's put a branch in there too. Okay, the two closest ones. But this one is farther from the edge than this one is from this edge. So I think we're safe. I think we're okay. This one's leaning in slightly. That's good. We'll have something over here. It's leaning out maybe. Whoops. Same height as that one. Oh well, we'll worry about that later. And then we right off into the sunset. No, we'll just head off into the distance a little bit. How's that? Wait. That's not much to work with. Okay, garbage for that. Garbaggio. That's a little better. This is roasted willow that I'm using for charcoal. Okay. Let's see what we got going there. That's setting in another stage of a tree here. Okay, that one can come there. That one can go, say, there somewhere. And then we have maybe a hint of something there. Something there. Something there. You know, I'm tempted to put a couple of more trees in the back of the evergreens. Excuse me, of the evergreens, but I think for the moment we're going to leave that. Okay, some snow creeping up on the back here maybe, and then down here. And okay, those are our lines. Nothing too definitive. Certainly nothing too complicated. I'm going to sit back and have a look, and then we'll put a little bit of paint on there. Well, the paint is still wet, so I've gone in with some charcoal and I'm kind of stuck with it because, of course, it has bonded to well, I'm painting wet in wet. I mean, yes, it's thinned off with terps, but it still is pretty much painting wet in wet. Because I'm painting wet paint into wet paint. Doesn't matter what it's thinned off with. But it's just a wash-in, so, it's forgiving. Let's take that branch right out of there, actually. And to something like that. That might make it kind of interesting. Okay, now this backside here, we'll cut it back in around there. And out like so. I like that, okay. That's all right. We'll come a little lower. And we'll have our line something like that in the foreground. Okay. broken. Sort of like that. And I'm going to have some trunk. A little hunk of trunk. Boy, this little young guy, he's had a rough life already. Showing that much underneath the foliage. Now, for the moment, maybe I'll bring this back under here like so. Maybe I'll do that. Okay, have this all in the shadow. Variations to be determined later. I think we'll have our light coming from the left as well. Upper left. Alright, so that's tree number 1. I think our branch here is well placed. I think the branch here is okay. I think our tree trunk here is okay. I think this is also all right. I can just disappear in behind there. Actually, that's getting a little too thick. That trunk. Okay. Tree number 2. Tree number 3. I like that. I like that. I think I like all of this. Yeah, I think that works. Tree number 4. We're getting a little thinner now. I may as well just put some paint in there. Keep things simple. Okay. Now, tree is doing that. And I think what I'd like to do is come from underneath here. Let's get rid of that line. Okay, and yes, I dare to have this little guy in here as well. Keep them fairly interesting. There aren't millions of trunks, so we may as well make the ones that we do have each have their own imaginary little story to them. I don't want these two here or made into one because it's too central. So far, I like that. That could be just a standing dead one. Well, you know, in these deciduous forests, you get plenty of that. You know, so I'm painting this in, but obviously I will really be painting them in when I paint around them, because that's when I cut into them to make the final decisions as to how and where they will sit. And I'm gonna call this around here to be the farthest line away that is reasonably distinctive. I line that up okay? That'll do. Yeah, that'll do. And, excuse me. I'm not going to worry about branches on top of these farther away ones. Those branches will be, I think, for the most part obscured. Obscured. Don't make that too nice. All right. So those are all terminating too far away. Let's take a few and bring them closer. So we get a bit of that perspective. Okay. No, more bumps. We want more bumps. I don't want this telephone pole sitting here like that. It just never sits well with me. I still, at this point, don't know whether I'm going to use a knife or a brush on this one. I will decide that shortly. Okay. What I do know is I'm going to introduce a little bit of yellow ochre and ultramarine blue to the foliage on on this. On this little young tree here. And even though it's just a wash-in, I'm going to try to be reasonably accurate. One of these days my voice is just going to leave me for good. I wouldn't blame it. Okay, I'm not sure that I want to have a whole lot more of a wash-in than that, because if I decide to use the knife, then I restrict myself with too many details. I'd like to keep it looser, maybe more of a stained glass effect kind of thing, if I use a knife. And if I don't use a knife, I can add in my details. Let me back up a little bit here so I'm not stooped over. If I don't use a knife, I can add some details when I paint in. You know, edging on wet and wet painting. But here's where we sit. I'm going to leave that for now. I want that to become a bit drier before reattacking it. Thanks for watching, guys. Talk to you soon.